it right there.
Me?
It's making me uncomfortable, I think.
Is it? Oh, I can fix it. Damn.
Are we going, dude? Oh, hey there, blood feuders. We're coming at you live from the 4th floor of the Kresge Library here at Oakland University, room 403, not 420. Oh, that's coming up. I'm Nick Nack Neal.
I'm Patty Wexam.
I've got one thing that we definitely need to put on the table, address, discuss. It's kind of important.
Okay.
People that walk with headphones in.
Oh, like skull candies, like rock.
Just anything. Beats by Dre.
Like Rockstar Energy drink in hand, like they got.
No, not even that. Usually nothing in hand because they're using their hands.
But maybe like a monster, right? Maybe crushing a monster.
No.
Okay.
100% false.
Right.
No, these people that walk through public spaces and sing.
Okay.
Like, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but are you just that socially unaware?
No, you mean like how they're like slamming a Red Bull and something like crushing a Red Bull?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, man. There's a point where you got to set down the can, you know. You got to set down the
Red Bull, despite what the hit advertising campaign says, does not in fact give you wings.
And I've watched a lot of backyard wrestling when they will jump, like they'll jump off their roof, you know, like
onto a ladder
or something like that, and further proof that the advertisement is in fact deceitful, deceptive. So it's resolution. What I want to talk about before we even go into the film is low budget horror movies.
And the release date of Resolution,
which was it like the New Year or something?
April 20th.
Low budget horror films. I want to weigh in with you on the topic of low budget horror films, and I couldn't find the exact budget of Resolution, but this movie is incredibly low budget, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was in an article I was reading about low budget horror films. It was paired with a movie called The Battery, which was a $6,000 movie. So you can kind of guess just from that how little money they spent on this. Even when you consider a movie like Bone Tomahawk was relatively cheap at $1 million. What was it, $1 million it cost to make Bone Tomahawk?
I think so. Yeah, less than a Game of Thrones episode.
Right, but that movie's not really low budget. It was just lower budget. We're talking about low budget Blair Witch style. What other movies are there in this genre that I'm trying?
Paranormal.
Paranormal Activity, which even that was $11,000, which is nothing. Which is nothing.
What is it?
What, 11,000 for Paranormal Activity?
Yeah, is that nothing or everything?
Yeah, no, that's for everything. What are you talking about? That's
nothing, dude.
Compared to
That's nothing.
Compared to
nothing. Nothing compared to nothing is nothing.
Right, it's a cheap movie. Paramount bought the movie and made millions of dollars. It's the biggest. It's one of the most profitable movies ever made. And I'm just kind of curious about what your opinion is on low budget horror movies, and if I don't know if there's. I don't know how to say this.
Sure. So.
Does the low budget necessarily make for a cheaper experience, a less developed experience?
No, I think regardless of budget, within obviously if you have no money, that makes a difference. But regardless of budget, if you are good at what you do, if you can write a story, if you can tell a story, if you can film a film, I think that regardless of budget, you're going to be able to do that. Obviously, there's some things that you're not going to be able to do, but I think if you're good enough, you can work around that. Right,
and I think, Bone Tomahawk isn't the best example because it's still $1 million movie, but I think where a low budget film can shine is in the writing department. Right. And a film like Bone Tomahawk that's so utterly devoted to its characters and the world building. And granted, they had Kurt Russell and a lot of other pretty big name people, but you just need decent actors and a good script to make for a good experience. I would hope, And to me, with the low budget horror films I've seen, unfortunately, and I'm not talking about Bone Tomahawk, I'm talking about lower budget, like maybe something like like VHS, or like this movie, Resolution. The sad thing to me is that the low budget kind of becomes synonymous with a low quality of writing.
No, I don't think that that's always the case.
Right, not always, but I feel like in a lot of cases, for me at least, that's what I see. That's not always the case. It shouldn't be the case. That's what I'm saying. But especially with this film, that my opinion is that the extremely low caliber of just characterization and dialogue writing makes this film, in my opinion, unwatchable. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you're going to say, because I think you have a different opinion than me.
I do.
I don't know. I was just curious about what your opinion on low budget films are, because Blair Witch is one of.
I'm gonna. To be honest, I'm usually not a fan of low budget. And that's not to say that I want necessarily want high budget, but I'm not someone that's going to be like, oh, I liked it because it was so indie, or you know what I mean? Yeah. I guess that's my point on it.
Right. No, a movie like Blair Witch, where I don't think, a lot of that is just screaming and swearing, so I don't think it's really refined, but I like the experience because it's a very minimalistic experience. And I want to say this movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think there's not a lot of reviews, but
9.
Yeah,
I do think that. I guess I was surprised. Maybe it's because I went in with too high of expectations, but I was a little bit surprised at all of the positive reviews that were coming out for this, because I did not hate it as much as you.
Okay.
But that's not to say that I loved it by any means. It was okay.
Okay, well, give us a brief synopsis of what this movie's about here.
Before we get into that, is it fair to say, so our last episode was a little bit different format. Is it fair to say that we're going to kind of be going in that direction, just for the, the listeners?
Yeah. I would say so, that we're going to focus less on movie summary and less on a full run-through, and more of just the key points, our thoughts, the key points of a film, high points, low points.
By doing that, I guess we're kind of hoping that, one, the episodes get a little bit shorter, just so that they're easier to listen to for you guys.
Yeah, and we'll probably start incorporating stuff like, like some call-outs, like the letterbox call-out from last.
Yeah. Just different segments, I guess.
Yeah. So hopefully look forward
Let
to
us know what you think of that. Obviously, we still want to be critical and analytical and intellectual about these films. So that's not to take away from any of that.
We'd like to bring maybe a little more entertainment value to what we do here.
With that said, right in the all right, yeah. So Resolution is a film about two guys, old high school buddies, I guess you're supposed to assume. One of them's is it meth he's addicted to, or crack? I don't remember.
Yeah, he smokes a lot of weed, does some meth.
He's a drug addict, basically, and he's like a squatter. He kind of lives in this house that's not his, on an Indian reservation. You come to find out. And his name is Chris is his name.
And his friend is
Michael, the main character. Well, they're both main characters. Yeah. But Michael sets out to, I guess, try to get Chris clean. So he chains him to a pipe in the house.
In his house.
And
forces him to not
go cold turkey.
Not drink or do. Which, if you think about it, is actually a terrible idea, because if you're not supposed to do that when you're a drug addict. If you do that, your body can actually die, especially from alcohol. If you're an alcoholic.
Well, he does say in the movie that alcohol is not your problem.
Right. But it's just I don't know. But
anyway, that's a side note. And then weird stuff happens.
That's the premise. And now we watched the trailer, and I just want to say, I don't think the trailer ruined this movie.
No, pretty good trailer.
But it made the movie. It made me really intrigued. I was like, this looks like a cool movie. there's an emphasis on super kind of surreal
Meta
stuff, but in my opinion, sadly, the trailer set up an expectation that just was not at all what happens. It's not. There's some cool stuff.
I will say, I think it does happen. I just don't think it's executed very well. I think it could have been executed way better.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, like even as like a short film or a TV series.
Yeah.
And we'll get into why when we jump into spoilers. But
yeah, I mean, besides the abysmal dialogue that.
See, I'm gonna disagree. I didn't hate it that much because you told me that before I watched it, and I was kind of looking out for it. I didn't hate it that much.
Looking out for it.
You know what? I chuckled at a couple parts. It made me laugh.
Yeah, the whole movie, I was like, they probably wanted to get like Zach Galifianakis in an ideal world to play Chris, this drug addict. I hated the humor. I hated the because it just came off as so surface level to me. I feel like there were a couple remarks that were all right. I feel like there were times when it does kind of hit.
There was one part towards the end that kind of made me like cringe, I guess. But other than that, I didn't have any qualms.
Yeah,
with the
maybe it's just
dialogue.
Me personally. I don't appreciate that kind of writing. It's the same reason I wouldn't like a movie like Deadpool. It's just all these like My Name Is Earl jokes or something. I don't know. But however, what I was gonna say is, past that, I think the reason this movie doesn't succeed for me is because it's so jumbled and it tries to do so much and it doesn't really ever give you anything. So that's my synopsis. Cool idea. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes
I really dig the idea. It's kind of like there's like comparisons to Cabin in the Woods, but it at a foundational level, it's really not anything like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
It's got the same type of meta outline, I guess, idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you don't know what we mean by meta, it's that it's like self-referential and it's aware of the world that exists outside of the film universe.
Yeah, it's one. I don't know. I feel like this film would work well not as a film, like as a short story.
Exactly.
And I say that a lot, but there's things that when you try to realize them in film without like proper execution, proper planning, it's just disjointed and it feels disingenuous. And that's how this film feels to me. Mainly, honestly, back to the characters. I felt like the characters were just goofballs the whole movie, and it didn't help the tone. I felt if this movie had a darker tone, it would have been better.
There's never really any like threat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's some creepy stuff that happens for sure.
Right.
But you're never worried, I guess.
And I'm not usually one to say, well, this was unrealistic, because that's not what it's about. But the way that Michael refuses to let Chris out of these chains, despite the fact that they are clearly being disturbed by something, and like Michael becomes increasingly agitated and like things start happening. And to me, it's just like, there's no way at all that you would stay here. You would not still be here. And that, to me, it was just absurd that there wasn't more unrest.
Wasn't he kind of trying to find like logic? Yeah, he was kind of trying to come up with logical explanations for everything.
Yeah, but things would happen, like ridiculous things, and they would get like, I don't know. I don't want to give it away. Hold on, excuse me. I don't want to give anything away, but things would happen that were clearly like fucked up, and they would be like, "Oh, this is weird. Like, what's happening?" It's like that to me. It's like that's just bad development, because they should have at least been disturbed by it. And instead, you have this dynamic where Chris is like, "You're crazy, man," and Michael's like, "No, dude, there's something going on," and that's like the whole movie. And that gets old
until the
fast.
end. They click at the end.
And the end is the only interesting part of the film for me.
See, I was kind of disappointed by the ending.
With its ambiguity?
Yeah. But we can talk about what we think it means, I guess.
Okay, so anything else? Should we be more clear about anything before we talk specifics with spoilers?
I guess I'll say that I don't recommend it to the average viewer. I like Cabin in the Woods better. If you're looking for something like this,
like meta,
and you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, just go watch Cabin in the Woods.
Well, I mean, and this Cabin in the Woods is so much more of a sophisticated experience than this is. However, I do want to say two things. The first thing is that, I absolutely. This might be the only film that I've seen in a very long time where by the time I had finished it, I felt like my time had been utterly wasted.
See, that's a little too harsh for me.
For me.
Yeah.
Brother.
Hogan, dude, shouts out. 125 million, dude. Gawker.
Jesus Christ.
That's going in.
Now, despite the fact that I felt like that, I appreciated the fact that this movie tried to layer a lot of elements, even though it didn't succeed, because there's a lot of maybe potentially interesting things happening between these Indians that are on the reservation that are kind of like punks. There
is a lot going on.
There's these cultists that worship some kind of deity.
Celestial.
Yeah, there's this kind of
Please don't sue us, Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. Everybody.
I don't have $125 million, let alone $125 cents.
Yeah, and there's you can see where they were trying to create a multi-tiered conflict.
Yeah, well, and it's almost like a mystery, like a whodunit.
Yeah,
because there's all these parties, and
I just felt in no way compelled to solve the mystery because I didn't feel like there was a clear sense that one clear thing was happening. But I felt like they were trying to build this world where it was menacing and there was something lurking. But I never felt like that, and it always kind of felt like a flat thing to me.
And not that I'm saying I liked it, but do you think there was a reason for that?
A reason that it felt disjointed?
No, the reason that the menacing thing lurking didn't feel menacing. Because I've got a theory why.
Okay, should we talk about that later?
We can talk about it now. Spoilers.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen the movie, in my opinion, don't watch it. I don't think there's any reason to watch it because there's better movies that attempt to be metacognitive. But that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. You covered the bases.
Spoil me.
I didn't like it as much as I didn't dislike it as much as Sam did. So
spoil me, Daddy.
I'll take you to the fair.
I don't want to take this any further. I don't want to explore that.
I didn't even think about it really until just now, but that menacing thing lurking is you as an audience member.
Okay, I'll entertain. Yeah, tell me more.
I think that the camera in this movie is very subjective and not objective. Whereas like an objective camera is not in the universe.
Can you what are some examples of like where the camera's kind of moving towards something?
Yeah, well, you get a lot of looks, and I don't feel like it's like this all the time because obviously the characters would notice the camera, but you get a lot of like looks at them in the cabin from the outside, and even because it does the whole thing where like there's like the premise that like they keep finding these tapes that someone has been recording, that show the future. And a lot of those tapes, not all of them, but a lot of them are stuff that we saw. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff that the camera had recorded. And then, like, the biggest one, I guess, the biggest part for me is it's towards the end, and there's a scene where, because throughout the film, the camera does this thing where it, like, cuts, or, like, it splices, or it, like, burns or something. I don't know. And there's a part where like it does that, and Michael says, he's like, well, what was that? Like he's aware of it happening, and Chris is like, well, it's just it's the house, it's creaky, but he's very much aware. The characters are very much aware that the audience members are watching them, and I think that's the entity is us, and that's kind of what swayed my opinion on this film. It doesn't make it better, but it just makes it make more sense. Like at the end, you have a very, very point of view shot. The very last shot of the film is 100% point of view,
Yeah,
with the characters talking to you.
And then the camera, well, the last scene of the film is the camera we're looking through the camera at the characters as they're looking at us, and we as a camera are rising up above them like something. And to me, that was the most interesting part of the film, even though it is very ambiguous, because it's like, well, that was really one of the only instances where I felt like there was a presence. But now that you say that, that might be an interesting thing to revisit this film. I do kind
of want to watch it again, and I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't like it enough on my first viewing to want to go watch it again.
Me neither.
But it's definitely something that I kind of feel like, upon rewatching it, might make me like it better.
I'm into that idea.
And I guess further backed up is the part where he goes and talks to the neighbor, the French guy. And he's like, well, what was going on? And he's like, some people think it's ghosts, demons.
Yeah, it was a bit goofy, but...
But I think the reason for that is it's talking about horror movies. You know what I mean? What is out here being the horror movie universe. Maybe it's ghosts, maybe it's demons, and people want to find out, and
that was one of the only other scenes I liked, because despite the fact that it was goofy that he said that, I like the idea that maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but it's not really one of those things specifically.
And at the end of the day, in this film, I don't think it's any of that. It's you.
And I wanna lend something to that theory that you just presented. If you look at the poster that we're both looking at, it's a film. There's film holes around the sides. It's all about film, and in a lot of ways, this movie could be just as much about making a horror movie as it is about the movie itself.
Right.
And about film in general, especially because there's so many things that happen throughout the film where the characters are being filmed and seeing themselves being filmed and seeing things happen to them through the film.
And the film even itself, cutting, or what I mean?
So maybe you could even cutting as if it's being edited, clipped. So you could even look at this film. That's really interesting,
because it's all about, as far as the editing goes, it's all about our desire. Because he keeps saying well, the story needs an ending. They're very much aware that they're in a story, and that by making these choices, because they're given the films, he finds the film and he's like, well, what are we doing? And then we're doing this. He's like, well, let's not do that. And
well, let's look at it from that standpoint, from a standpoint where there's two characters that are aware that they're in a story and making choices to alter that story.
Because they clearly, I guess this was based on Michael's reasoning that he doesn't want to bring his wife into it. He's like, well, I can't go home because then my wife will have to be in it. They clearly want this to end in a way that's beneficial to them.
Right.
And it's almost just based on the end, how they're pleading with us, they're saying sorry.
What are the final lines? It's, can we do it different?
Something to that
Can we
effect.
do it different, please? Is what one of them says. Is there another way, or
something like that? Yeah. So they're very much aware that they're almost on this Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Where they're repeating. So
yeah, see,
I thought that was
I'm
interesting.
Into that.
I thought that was interesting, and that made me appreciate it a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's still, and I don't want to rip on it too hard, because again, I didn't find the acting that bad or the script that bad. I know you did, but the biggest thing for me was just it was so disjointed. Characters are going places, and you're like, well, where is he? Who is this? That salesman shows up. I was fine with the drug addicts showing up and the Indian reservation people.
Yeah.
And then that salesman shows up, and he goes to there's just a lot of disjointed stuff happening that I thought, if cut out, this movie could have been an okay short film.
Yeah, and a shorter film would have been cool. And, better characters. I'm sorry. The writing to me was unforgivable. Just the humor.
They were very,
just stupid.
Not unique characters.
Yeah, just forgettable.
I did laugh at a couple of parts, when they're talking about, banging chicks in college, and he's like, the one chick looked like John Madden or something. Like that made me chuckle. Like,
yeah, I don't know. But that's just not me. You know,
Right.
I'd rather have seen something more minimalistic. You could also interpret the disjointedness of this film as like pieces of film that people are trying to slice together. For me, it doesn't make for a good watching experience.
No.
But if you're looking at it from a meta perspective, maybe that's interesting to you. To me, it's a little interesting, as if there's a bunch of different sections of film that these characters are trying to piece together.
Right.
I don't know. That's interesting. It's just, and it's kind of absurd. There's a part where he finds like a record or something, and it's like broken, and he finds a way to play it, and it's just there's moments
See, a lot
like
of that, like
where,
I was totally just like lost interest.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like again.
they found something else. They found a tape. Oh,
I will
photos.
say, two of the parts that genuinely spooked me is when they wake up and the girl's watching them.
Oh yeah,
that's kinda
there's like a
creepy.
mental institution.
Yeah. And then when they meet the cult, and like, he's like, we're just here to let you know that before the end of days, a celestial god is going to come down, and then the camera like cuts, and it's like, brr, like it makes like a static noise. It was kind of like a jump scare, but
Yeah.
it got me.
Yeah.
And like, I wish the film I wish it would have taken out some of those subplots and
Yeah.
elaborated more on them, because
By the time something's introduced, it's gone again.
Exactly.
Such as the Frenchman who was a researcher in his camper. Like, he's kind of cool. And that scene was cool because we get a really sprawling pan out over this beautiful desert vista. And there's nothing else that's really like that in the film.
yeah. And then the part when he was like twirling the mirror was cool.
Yeah, that was, again, one of the more interesting scenes, but he's gone as soon as he's there.
Right.
And that's how everything in this movie is. It's like, here's a plot device, here's a plot device, here's a character, he's gone. Here's I don't know. I guess the Indian punk kids show up a lot.
I will say that Charles, the
Native Americans, excuse me, I'm sorry, the Native Americans.
You son of a bitch.
Holy shit.
Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be pissed.
Yeah. I apologize, guys.
He the main character, Charlie, he was in Fargo season 2 and he was great.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I But again, like it's not really the fact that it was low budget, right? It's just the fact that to me there was poor development all around. And that they couldn't really harbor that latent horror that you really kind of have to, that a movie like I think Blair Witch does better, despite the fact that I still think Blair Witch's dialogue is less than desirable, but it's just how empowering can you make your environment, how much can you manifest within it? And because this movie tries to do so much, I think it manifests very little, which is unfortunate because the ideas are cool, but there's not really much else that's worth.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a better idea, just not very well executed.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
I think, like I said, short film would have been cool. TV series even, where you get to elaborate on, maybe you spend an episode with each one of these characters, and and by the characters I mean like the subplots of like the cult, the mental hospital, or maybe even every episode is a different story, with people trying to impress the audience.
Yeah. I mean, and I just want to say, I'm absolutely a fan of obscure writing, of obscure, vague storytelling, but for some reason I think this is the worst example of that, because it doesn't really give you a compelling reason to go on, and it doesn't really tempt you with what could be happening.
Right.
It just kind of throws things at you and hopes that you care enough, hopes that you're immersed, and to me that's not enough. And that that's about it. Dislikable character. This is on my end. Dislikable characters, terrible writing.
Oh, I wanted to say before,
on.
because I mentioned it before. The one part of dialogue that like really didn't sit well with me is there's the scene where like I forget who's breaking into the house. Like they've snuck out of the house and they're watching, and like they're like, man, I really miss like the high school days. Like you were a great guy. Like you could have went on to like they just got like it got really sappy. and it like dragged on a little bit. But other than that, I didn't have problems with it. So I guess if you feel like you relate more to me, maybe check it out. If you feel like you relate more to Samuel, avoid it.
But I think maybe there is warrant to watch it just to look at these things that you're talking about with the film.
Which I definitely think it should have been more overt.
Yeah. Looking at it because I missed all of that. Like, and I'm a fan of vagueness and ambiguity, but for some reason I didn't even think about it because I was already too irritated with the film because of the stupid characters. I'm sorry, the stupid characters.
Well, I think maybe they are supposed to be stupid. I mean, he's a meth head.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Are you just saying like poorly designed
That's
characters?
That's what I mean. So, Resolution 2014.
I don't even know when this movie came out.
No, it's not 2014.
2012. Like,
oh, it is 2012. Yeah, I was joking anyway.
420.
Now, I see... We're going to leave this now. I see that you're looking at a movie that we have kind of been... It's been on our radar for a while. I was just looking at a list of movies coming out this year, and this film was on it. It is an Iranian film.
I believe so, yeah. It's called Baskin. Baskin Robbins.
We'll check that. We'll have the interns do that. Yeah, that was on there, and it's coming out. And we were talking about when is this gonna? It's coming out tomorrow.
Apparently,
really?
That's what it said, March 25th.
I want to find that list. That gosh.
But yeah, so I think we'll try to do Baskin for next week. Check out a trailer. I guess check out the movie if you're interested. Leave some here you go. If you watch the movie. If it does come out tomorrow, if you watch the movie, you leave some comments about either questions you had about it, things you liked, things you disliked. Feel free to do that, and we'll address it on the podcast. I think that could be kind of cool.
Yeah. There's a couple other. Is it going to be in theaters or can I go online?
It said in theaters and on demand.
That'd be cool to go to a theater, but I don't know.
It probably won't be any. It'll probably be like a weird art house one. You know what I mean?
It was supposed to be some kind of vampire film, but it might not be.
I don't think it was vampires. It's just it reminded me of almost like a Silent Hill. How they're
that's cool.
Like a descent into hell, kind of.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to get too much into it. Save it for next week. Unless you had something, I did have one thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
briefly.
There's a couple other films coming up that I just want to comment on they were interesting looking. Well, maybe they weren't even that interesting looking, but I'm trying to find. What I thought, Rings is coming out. I never even saw the second Ring.
Interesting.
But that's interesting, right?
Yeah, read it's supposed. I thought they're doing something weird with it. Like it was like a found footage movie.
Okay,
or something.
It's been anticipated for years. I know that.
And then I also saw on this list you're looking at The Purge, the new Purge. Have you seen the old ones?
I never saw any of the old ones.
Jesus.
Yeah, I wasn't too interested. I loved the trailers. The trailer for the Purge election year.
The Purge 2 is better than the Purge 1.
Okay. Well, they were mimicking the election commercials, and I thought that was really cool. This is not the list I was looking at. There's that movie that doesn't look good. It's called The Darkness. It's coming out, and have you not seen anything? It's we can look it up. It's about like.
Oh, did you hear about that? Oh, dude. Okay.
Death House.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke when I read it. So basically the plot of this film called Death House is it's basically the Expendables for horror characters. So I guess, and like I read about it a couple weeks ago, so I could be off, but it's there's like a secret government agency where they keep all like the kind of like Cabin in the Woods, where they keep like all the monsters or whatever, and like I guess they end up breaking out. And then to get them back, they have to go down to the deepest level of Death House, which is where they keep like the extreme. So it's where they keep Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, Michael Myers.
So it kind of sounds like a Cabin in the Woods type
and
deal.
And then they're sending those characters out to go hunt down the other monsters, which I think is definitely cheesy, but definitely cool idea.
Interesting. Anyway, yeah, there's some interesting stuff coming out. I don't know. This movie called Lights Out. I was reading about it. I don't really know much about it. So we'll hopefully have some more material to.
James Wan, is he directing it, or just producing it?
Dude, yeah, it looks like he's just a producer.
Oh,
Anyway, I thought Rings was interesting. I haven't seen the second one. I thought the second one was just an American thing, but there was a Japanese sequel, and then
there's more. There's like 5, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about it on here, but I had said I just watched the original Ring for the first time about a month ago, and in my opinion, it's phenomenal. I think
you haven't seen the Japanese though, right?
I have. I watched it.
Oh,
I didn't like it as much. I like the American one more.
It's different.
It's more of a mystery film.
Right.
What I mean, I've rarely seen a movie like The Ring that is so full of terror the whole way through, and it's subliminal. There's some meta stuff within it that I don't really want to spoil if you haven't seen it. But
I remember their advertising campaign creeped me out because that movie came out in 2001, 2002.
2002.
So we were 8.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, when it came out, everybody was talking about it and how it was like the scariest movie.
So I remember the advertising campaign for it was, when you see the ring, you die in 7 days.
Yeah.
Because that was like the whole plot of the movie. And like that really creeped me out because I'm like, shit.
Right.
And then like I remember like someone in my house rented the movie and I was like, guys, you can't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even the film begins with 2 girls, kind of in an MTV style way. Literally, it's almost as if they're doing the same thing that you would be doing at a sleepover, talking about this film, The Ring, and then throughout the film, really quick spoiler for the next 20 seconds. At a couple points, there's a flash. The ring flashes quick that.
Yep.
The other thing I love about this film is that, this is not a spoiler, is that there are really cool references to Hitchcock films throughout it, such as specifically Rear Window and Psycho.
I don't think I caught any of them.
You should rewatch it for the Hitchcock. And there's a Hitchcock film, one of his old films, is called The Ring, but it's about boxing. So they were definitely purposely paying tribute to that. It doesn't happen in the Japanese one.
Right.
There's a very specific nod to Rear Window and a very specific nod to Psycho.
Will you just tell me what the Psycho nod is?
She's in the shower and her kind of blood is going down the drain. And
gotcha. Okay.
The Rear Window one is cool too because a woman is standing on her balcony looking at the other side of her apartment complex. It's just like the scene in Rear Window when they show the apartments in that movie all the time. They look like TV screens, and you can see into each TV screen, into each apartment. It's just like that. There's even a man in a wheelchair in The Ring in one of the windows.
Okay.
It's great. It's awesome.
Cool.
And anyway, just the way that the movie kind of holds you in this thing of like terror.
Right.
And it's a mystery.
Is creepy, yeah.
But
dreadful.
Yeah, dread. It's dreadful.
Dreadful in a good way.
Yep. And to me it makes me want to solve the mystery. And you had mentioned that it hasn't aged well. And to me
it's not that it hasn't aged well, it's just that that came out, and then The Grudge came out, and then The Grudge 2 came out, and then Ring 2 came out, and I don't know if this is the exact order, and then one of the Scary Movies came out where they parodied The Ring. It's just, if it was a roller coaster, it hit its peak and it kind of crashed, and it's still kind of at the bottom, but maybe Ring 3 will.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do want to watch Rings,
Lord of the Rings?
The Ring 2, Lord of the Rings. I don't have much hope that those would be good, but I was very impressed with that first movie, and I'm surprised I had never seen it. And I know that if I would have seen it when I was younger, I would have been shitting my pants.
Here's a question for you. If the Fellowship of the Ring was, how do we want to do this? Either they're teleported to modern day New York, or the Ring videotape and a TV is teleported to Middle Earth. Do you think that the Fellowship of the Ring, Gandalf, Boromir, Legolas, Aragorn, Gimli, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, Merry, did I miss anybody? That's it, right?
I think that's it.
Do you think that they could solve the mystery of the ring, or would they die in 7 days? How and why?
Well, there's 9. How many people are in the Fellowship? 9, right?
I just counted them out. Well, I didn't.
I wasn't fucking counting. Okay, so there's more people than there are days to die. So you would hope that we know that for sure. There's more people in the Fellowship.
9 is greater than 7.
Right. So what they would have to do is stagger the time. stagger the time that they watch it so that they don't all watch it at the same time. So if 9 times 7 is 63, so they would have 63 total days before all of them were dead.
Do you not worry that by not everyone seeing the videotape, they would not all have the information? You know what I mean? Like, so if only one of them watches it, and then he has to kind of, okay, well, here's what it looked like, and
here's the thing about The Ring: they would not have the technology to solve the riddle. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to spoil.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but like, just say hypothetically.
Well, no,
like,
Gandalf could use magic. Never mind. Gandalf has magic. I don't know. I don't know if they would think to do that. I don't know if they would think to be able to solve it.
Well, what if they're told like it's a mystery that needs to be solved? What if they're given like a little? I mean, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just don't see how they would have the ability to do that. But
Fair enough.
I guess
just curious.
Yeah.
And then one more thing I want to bring up, just because it's relevant. Do you have? And you can say no. We can just move on. Do you have an opinion on Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice?
Have you seen it?
I have not. Did you?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. But I'm just in general, do you have an opinion on the fact that it's currently sitting at a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average score of 5 out of 10?
I haven't looked at any reviews. I've been avoiding them, not even because I want to watch it. However, to me, the film looks, from not having seen it, from seeing the trailers over the past year, it looks terrible.
Dang, okay. See, like, I was really excited for it, and, like...
The cast, it looks extremely miscast. Not even Ben Affleck, but, like...
I like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Jesse Eisenberg. Like, his...
See, okay, obviously, I don't want to, like, try to defend this movie, and, you know, I don't want to try to argue about it, because neither of us have seen it yet. But I was all for the casting of Jesse Eisenberg, because to me it makes sense. Like, you've got Lex Luthor, is this very old school businessman character, and like that's a fine character, but that Lex Luthor was created however many years ago, and I understand that they were trying to update it for a modern audience. And who are the most powerful businessmen in the world right now?
Mark Zuckerberg,
yeah. Right? Like,
well, and ironically, but no, and it is interesting, right?
Right, and that's why I appreciate it, and I was because people were like, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
I was like, let's wait and see. It makes sense.
Well, and I know I'm quick to judge, but until I saw the first trailer with him in it, I was like, that could be cool. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, man, they looked like they really butchered him.
Right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to see it this
That's
weekend,
really surprising that the reviews are like that.
Very bad. And you know what? It's disappointing because Marvel movies are good. I mean, you might not like them, but they're perfectly fine movies.
Sure.
Yeah. And DC, you know, the Dark Knight saga was cool.
Yeah.
What other DC movies have there been? Watchmen was all right. And I kind of liked that we were getting, because DC comic books and Marvel comic books have different tones. I kind of liked that we were about to get that in the movie world, where like Marvel would kind of be like a little more lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
But DC is very dark, and it kind of made me disappointed that it's not doing well.
And, you know, when I say, when you asked me a minute ago what my impression was, and I said terrible, a lot of my bias is from just being so sick of these movies. However, you know, it's not really that it's just that I'm so sick of it. And I didn't think it looked outstanding in any way. You know what I mean? It's been done better. I think it's been done better. However, what do you think, if you had to speculate, why do you think this movie isn't doing well? You know what I mean? Or why do people seem to not like it?
I've heard it's long and there's too much going on.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, is DC's problem. Is Marvel's been building up this universe since Iron Man in 2007, I think. So that's almost 10 years that they've been doing it. And DC tried to kick off their film universe with Man of Steel in 2013. And so they're like, so, you know, Marvel, it took 5 years to get us to the Avengers. DC, it's 2. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of like they're playing catch up at this point.
Yeah. I don't have much of an opinion. I'm just kind of tapped out on it. But
I just figured, you know, movie news.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Do you have anything else movie related?
No, more call outs to come. I'm down to watch Baskin. Let's try to do that.
Yeah, again, if you guys want to get involved, feel free to watch it. Send us a comment. We'll discuss it on the podcast. Even if anything you want to comment on. movie related, like, you know what I mean? We'll discuss it, you know. Now I feel like with this new format that we're doing, we've got more time to discuss random things.
That's how I would
and
rather it be.
If that's okay with you guys, you know what I mean? Like if our dozens, hundreds if not fans are like, no, go back to the old format, we'll do that for you. We're people pleasers.
Okay, you know what? Forget Baskin. Next time is going to be the Matthew Broderick edition of Godzilla.
Godzilla 2000 or something.
I think it was just Godzilla.
New Millennium.
Yeah, because I've been meaning to get down to brass tacks on this movie for a while. Some 1990s
Got
gold.
Your jimmies rustled.
Some 1990s gold.
You like the cut of its jib?
I like Matt Broderick, uncut, unhinged, doing his best.
Uncircumcised.
He's Ferris Bueller. He's just in a Godzilla movie, and that's really all you need to know. But we're gonna talk about that all next time. Godzilla, baby, Godzilla.
Who would win in a fight, Godzilla or the Fellowship?
Matthew Broderick. Godzilla, baby.
Which character in the Fellowship should Matthew Broderick have played?
Godzilla.
You can't say all of them.
Godzilla.
What character should Godzilla have played?
This is a trick question, bro.
No. I'm Neil. I'm Matt Broderick. That's your cue, dude. I'm setting you up. A little slow ball right to you. I'm Matt Broderick.
I'm Kinky Dora.
Jesus Christ.
Kinky Dora.
Go fuck yourself, dude. You ruined it.
Kinky Dora, baby.